Yeah, I think ProPublica just didn't rise to the same level consistently for me. Like there were a few
Uh-huh.
stories I really enjoyed, but it felt uneven as a collection. And
I can see that. I can
the
see
Denver
that.
Post, I
Yeah.
think, for me, I mean, they just really nailed visual reportage from a local community perspective, and I just thought there was enough variety there. And
Yeah,
Hmm.
I had
some of
them
these
for number 3.
packages, yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Wow. Because I just looked at it and thought so many, and I thought they did a good job on a lot of the stories, but I thought so many of them were so expected that I felt like I wasn't seeing anything I hadn't seen before. So that's what kind of influenced me on the Post.
I think part of it for the Post for me also was
The
some of
Denver
these
Post, sorry.
packages have a lot of, yeah, sorry, the Denver Post is
Uh-huh.
that they have like a lot of images of some of these, but the editing felt tight to me. I didn't feel like they were just
Hmm.
extra images or repeating
Uh-huh.
itself over and over. It seemed to
Hmm.
flow.
Okay.
Not every single story, I'll say, but most of
Yeah.
them.
Hmm.
Okay, should we talk about the top 2 then? And then we'll figure out. Do you have a top 2, Elizabeth?
I still really like the Washington Post. I thought they had just a really high bar through most of their stories. I like, to tell you the truth, I liked the New York Times a lot, but it was really mostly that the year in pictures that I was kind of influenced by. There was so much that I liked there. And then I also liked some of the ones that we've already talked about. The Asian American love photos and the New York region kind of coming back alive photos. So, but I also really liked the San Francisco Chronicle. That was the other one.
The one package from the New York Times that didn't show up anywhere else that I really enjoyed was the Ethiopia story.
Oh, I think I felt like we saw that, but at one point, but anyway. I think they had it appeared in, I think, 2 different forms. I forget if it was like a section cover or something, but anyway. What about you, Emily? What
Yeah, my top was the Washington Post.
Mhm.
My second was New York Times. And then I thought that the Chronicle was my number 3, with the 4th being the Denver Post. But then I had missed a project and from the Chronicle, and then I saw the project from the Chronicle, and then I thought, oh, my feelings might have changed.
Oh, wow.
And then I thought maybe that the Denver was my 3rd, and the Chronicle was honorable mention.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm open to the 3rd spot, is what I'm saying.
Because
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I kind of agree with what you're saying. I think for me, Chronicle becomes the honorable mention.
Because I kind of had the Post, the Times, and the Chronicle with, and I actually had ProPublica 4th, but I can understand how you would say it was uneven. But
Got a visitor.
yeah, maybe the cat could vote.
So we're saying the Washington Post for first for sure, right?
That was my impression, but
I don't know if that's a given.
Oh,
yeah, I was
okay.
kind of waiting for Shminda to weigh in on that.
I actually kind of found the Times wanted to be a little stronger, more consistently. I think there were like 3 or 4 stories that were really strong in the Times portfolio. And Washington had 3 of them, I believe, that were really focused on the insurrection. Like the Photos of the Year talks a lot about it. The first piece that was kind of like that sideways scrolling snap kind of story.
The January 6th one, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think there was wasn't there one more that also kind of touched on that as well?
Well, it's weird because it looks like they have both the photo issue and the year-end photos. So it's probably those two things, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. And then I thought the Australia story wasn't as strong as it could have been. I think the Afghanistan story, for the reasons we talked about in the last round, it kind of fell off for me.
Hmm.
And so those two didn't feel as strong. And then two of the other entries in here felt like they were kind of repeating each other. The one that really felt strong to me in the digital version is the one with the woman beating cancer. Which
Oh, that was very
print,
good, huh?
in print, I was
That's
not really feeling it,
interesting.
but in
Yeah,
digital,
that's
I
interesting.
really enjoyed it.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think just based on like, if I'm just doing a tally, right? I'm like, okay, well, three aren't really working,
right.
two are great, one is awesome, and then I'm looking at the Times one, and I'm thinking, you know, and I'm trying to like take the pictures of the year out of my head just because it's, you know,
Yeah.
it's not a level playing field all the time, and a lot of different ones have the same images, right? They're just presented different ways. So if I look at what's left, I got, you know, Nightlife, which was a banger, Asian Love, the piece from Ghana, I mean Ethiopia, I'm sorry, was really solid for me, and Afghanistan actually, for turning it around when that happened, and like seeing the variety in the edits, as far as like it's not superfluous, like there's a lot of thought put into this, felt very strong to me. And then I think the Chronicle and the Denver Post kind of fall into similar categories for me, where it's just like really well done long-term kind of reporting, and where they take the time to stick with the story and have the patience and like the deft hand to kind of push when you need to push and let something linger when it needs to linger. And the sequencing is really tight on a lot of their work, but it's a different animal. So I'm kind of struggling with, that's why I say, like, I don't know if it's a given for me that Washington Post is my number one, because that for me was kind of bouncing between third and fourth for me.
The Washington Post was between third and fourth?
For me, yeah.
Wow, okay.
But I could be swayed. I mean, this is kind of like the fun part of talking about it together with you guys, seeing what you guys saw that I didn't see.
We need to like set an egg timer.
Yeah, why don't I set us a timer to do this in the next 15 minutes by 4:20. And Shaminder, what were your top two then?
I actually initially, Denver was my top, and then I went to the New York Times, and then I went to the Chronicle. I kind of like put them all at first at different times.
That's interesting.
I'm kind of leaning towards Denver, Chronicle, Times, with honorable mention for Post.
Whoa, that is bold.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see how it plays out, Cotton.
I mean, the one story that I really liked in Denver was the one that we saw earlier about the woman who had the settlement, you know, from the police shooting. Like, you know, the rodeo one, perfectly fine pictures, but was there any surprise in that picture?
No,
not for me.
There was not.
So I wouldn't mind, but this was a story that I felt was strong. But also, could we look at that long COVID, the last tab?
The one from the
Oh,
Washington
not that
Post?
one. I'm sorry. The other COVID one. The woman who lived to 98 and had COVID and then decided to keep living or something. I saw that one.
Yeah.
I think I might have missed this one, actually. I think I didn't see this one. Sorry. Yeah, could we scroll through that one? Do you mind? Just, you could be quick if you want. Just, I think I missed this one. Okay, thanks. I mean, I just have to say honestly that I just don't see it with the Post, the Denver Post, the Denver paper. But if you want to go through it and make a case, I'm happy to listen. So for me, it was really the New York Times and the Washington Post, and I hate to be so predictable, but and I really like the Chronicle also. I thought they had a really good selection of stories.
I think the first tab, the Unclear Water, I think that story was really well done as well.
Boy, I looked at that and I just thought, I don't even want to scroll to the end of this one. I mean, I really looked at it and I thought, wasn't that interested in the picture of the river that they had? I like expected to see something of the river pretty early on. And the second picture, like I like that triptych. That was the one thing I liked in this picture. I thought that was very funny.
That was a good triptych, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. And everything else, I just kind of scrolled right by it, honestly. I feel like, have I seen
it's a
all this
difficult
before?
story to visualize, and I just thought they approached it in a very clever way to connect the past to the present and taking the time to get out and not force feed you the story.
Mm-hmm. I like that they had, the picture of the baby that was sort of suffering the consequences. Here's a drought picture, but I don't know, is it anything we haven't seen?
That's a good question.
I didn't even stop. So scrolling. I'm so sorry. And maybe it's coming from Geographic, but that river picture is, not that unusual. But I hate to be harsh because I really admire when local papers are trying to cover all these things that are so essential to them,
I think that's kind of why Chronicle and the Post stood out for me. Is I admire that. I admire that they're taking these swings and trying to tell these ambitious stories and bring it to their community.
Right. I can understand that, but I feel like the quality just has to be more memorable for me. Anyway. Also the shooting story, it was perfectly fine, but I didn't find it to be really outstanding. I kind of feel like, again, it's ticking the boxes and doing it fine, but I don't have the same emotional reaction that I had to, for instance, the, Star Tribune cover of the conviction of Chauvin or something like that,
Yeah, I think that was probably the weakest one of the set.
Mm.
So it sounds like we're pretty far divided on the Denver Post still, right?
I think so.
So why don't we hold on that, unless Emily, you had any thoughts that would go either way?
I mean, we're talking about whether or not the Denver Post should be number 1. Is that right?
Well, let's say
anywhere
your top 4. Should it be in your top 4?
In the top 4.
Well, okay. So this was my thinking, is that I really like the Washington Post and I really like the New York Times, but it was pretty uneven, to be perfectly honest. There are big chunks of the Washington Post photo issue, which I thought were just terrible pictures.
I was actually surprised that there were some pictures we hadn't seen that was in that Post photo issue that I liked, that I hadn't seen before. But
yeah,
there
were definitely some that I had never seen and I thought were great. And then there were a handful that I was like, why is this the kind of photography we're doing in 2022? And so it's uneven. And I think the same for the New York Times is also uneven.
I kind of agree though with Shaminder that the New York Times is maybe a little more consistent in the level of photography, that the Washington Post is more uneven, but I still like most of what I saw in the Post.
Well, I think that the pictures of the year for the Times I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, me too.
And I wish that this, so I'm happy to do the Times first, honestly. or yeah. And then as far as then I kind of had these in two groups, like the Washington Post and the New York Times were kind of had some of the same issues. And then the Chronicle and the Denver had some of the same issues. So I had kind of battling those spots. I really loved the Chronicle until I saw the homeless
Which story?
and the homeless encampment story.
Hmm.
I like that one too. That was the Chronicle, right?
The thing I didn't like about that, I liked the photography, but I didn't like the big people in front of homes where they slowly move their heads.
Oh, you're talking about the cinemagraphs
Is that what? Yeah,
where there's like a photo and a video kind of floating behind them.
yeah, and they just kind of slowly move their heads.
Yeah.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah, I didn't really like those either.
I
mean,
really didn't like those at all.
and it also felt repetitive because a lot of times they would have one of those with the video with the headshot as well, right
They
underneath
do
it.
this amazing thing where they're like the spotlight on a single person, and you can cycle through those images and you have a tiny little story with like a snapshot, which is wonderful. So I was really torn because I was like, I really don't like those so much. Then a spotlight.
Yeah.
So I could easily be talked into just ignoring. I'm already ignoring parts of the New York Times, and I'm ignoring parts of the Washington Post. I
Yeah.
can ignore these things from the Chronicle if we feel like the rest kind of.
I think you kind of
Honestly,
have
like
to a
this
little
work,
bit.
this work is so important that they're doing, and they did a great job, except for those floating heads, which
Yeah, I would agree.
this is
I
like an
guess-
incredibly important story.
Yeah, I totally agree. I guess the floating heads really didn't bother me, but I don't think they're, what I would aspire to, but it's not, it didn't bother me. So, and part of me is so jaded that I kind of thought, oh, this is something different. So,
Maybe this is great. Okay, so
Yeah.
actually, I'm talking myself out of my original constellation. I'm pushing the Chronicle up to the front of the
Up to the front.
up to the front.
Oh, wow, you
Ooh.
guys are totally
Oh
like.
my gosh.
We're
They're
going to
doing
blow
interview.
past my deadline, but we have
Yeah,
6
okay,
minutes
okay.
to
I know.
4:20.
So I would be happy going with either the Post or the Times first. I really think that both of them have just done some extraordinary work this year. And, part of me feels a little bit like the Post just deserves, the Washington Post deserves so much credit just for that accomplishment of what they did with that insurrection package, that interactive feature is just so extraordinary. But I also was really blown away by the New York Times photos of the year also. I just thought it was incredible. So I kind of feel like both of them have just reached the pinnacle for me on different level, at different times. So I'd be happy with either of them first. And I really like the Chronicle, and that for me would be my third. But
Okay,
I like
I'm
that
cool with
order.
that. So who's going first?
yeah, who
Post?
would you put first?
I think
The
the
Post
Times
didn't
goes
submit
first.
they didn't submit their January 6th
I didn't think I
package.
saw it in there.
It wasn't in there.
But it
I
was,
thought it was, but it wasn't.
no, but they had a different version of it. That first thing is their interactive version of it, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
different. It's not the
Okay.
same, incredible. But I take your point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to go by
So-
what they actually included.
Yeah, no,
not
I
what we
agree.
know.
Right, I agree. But
Yeah.
I just thought they did a nice job of repurposing it kind of for this too. But I'm fine with going with the Times first and the Post second.
And then the
uh,
Chron.
I'd
Third?
love to see the Chronicle third. Yeah. So
Okay.
And do we do an honorable mention or do we just keep it to the three?
Yeah.
I would have a really hard time giving the Denver Post an honorable mention. I've got to
Oh.
tell you honestly.
Okay.
Really
cool.
hard time.
Okay, I can go with that. So we can go 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Wow. I love how much you dislike it, honestly.
I'm so sorry. I feel terrible because
No,
I know,
no,
I'm
no.
sure they do, an amazing job covering their local territory, but
I appreciate your
well,
I just fluctuate. You know, it's like whether or not I've
Uh-huh.
eaten recently. It's just like,
I mean, I'm very influenced by what I hear the other judges say, you know, when I go into a competition. So, but anyway.
I'm gonna say you all have been making some really, really good arguments for all these categories. So it's been really interesting to watch you all